Here is the second video on the functions of electrolysis. This one to do with electro-refining metals. So electro-refining is pretty much a fancy way of saying purifying a metal. So what we've got is a lump of impure copper, which is over there, and we're going to turn that into pure copper, which is over here. The first part of this process is the fact that we need to rip out our impure metal into our solution. So therefore we need to make sure that our metal is oxidized. What that means is our impure sample is connected to our anode. And what that does, it takes the solid metal and turns it into an ion, which then floats in the solution. The second part is when we come over to the cathode and we take that ion which has gone into the solution and we reduce it into a pure form. So therefore what happens is our copper goes from our impure sample over here, swims through our solution, and then ends up being plated onto our pure cathode over here. So that's pretty much easy to understand. We've got oxidation where we're ripping out our copper ions, and then reduction where we're producing our copper solid. But what happens to the impurities that were part of our anode over here? Well, it depends on their reactivity in comparison to the metal you're trying to purify. And in this case, it's in comparison to copper because we're electro-refining copper in this example. Any metal that is less reactive than copper in this example is going to stay as a solid and is not going to be able to be oxidized. So what that means is it's going to stay as a solid and fall to the bottom of our electro-refining tank. Things like gold, silver, and all that type of impurities, which are less reactive than copper, stay solid. Any metals that are more reactive than copper, well, they'll go and be oxidized as well because, well, that's just the way it's going to work. Anything that is more reactive is going to react. So therefore, they're going to form ions as well. But the difference is they will not end up being reduced because they are weaker oxidants than our copper. Copper will still be the strongest oxidant in our solution. So therefore, anything that is less reactive than copper comes out of our impurities into our solution, but it does not get deposited on our cathode. So again, below me you can see our half equations for what's happening in our cell, where the anode is being corroded and it's going to be formed, the anode's being oxidized, forming copper ions, and at the cathode we have reduction. These are the same equations that would be occurring in an electroplating cell, which is interesting to note. So that is the process of electro-refining or purifying metals using electricity.